Good morning. I'm Kathy Underwood, the Director of Lifespan Religious Education. Whether the Unitarian Church of Evanston is your spiritual home, or you are seeking comfort and connection in uncertain times, we are grateful you're with us. We are an inclusive and welcoming community, seeking truth in love and striving to nurture the human spirit for a world made whole. We are guided by our principles and values, which remind us in every moment and through every challenge that each of us matters and that we are all connected through the vast and beautiful web of existence. Together, let us remember our oneness, our kinship with one another, and may we hold one another in heart and mind with tenderness and careful attention. There are many links to connections in the section below, the comment section, including credits for the readings, to virtual religious education, for donations, and to be added to our newsletter email list. A few announcements this morning. Decking the tree with lights and all. If you missed last night's solstice celebration, between now and New Year's, you can still come by the church and hang a decoration or ornament on the deciduous tree by the bench that faces Greenwood Avenue. A weather-resistant ornament is probably best, unless you bring something edible, I should say, for birds and little critters. There's a little container with hanging hooks that you can use to hang your decoration. And now we welcome you all to worship.
Invocation by Weems. As we hear the familiar Christmas story this morning, let us open our hearts to the images which speak to our lives. Each of us could travel a long and weary journey, only to find that when night falls, there is no room at the inn. Each of us could be a shepherd, patiently caring for those who need us, who depend on us. Each of us could be a king in search of the holy, ready to offer our gifts. Each of us sometime hear angel voices, singing of a glory we have yet to know. And surely, for each of us, there is a desert to cross, a star to follow, and a new being within to bring to life.
Janice, Amira, and Miles Milanovich light this chalice in northern Illinois on the traditional homelands of the Council of the Three Fires, the Odawa, Ojibwe, and Potawatomi nations. Many other tribes, such as Miami, Menominee, Ho-Chunk, Sauk, and Fox, also call this area home. We name these in honor and respect. Please join in saying these words after me. The candle, the evergreen, the infant child, these are the symbols of the season. For we affirm that a flame banishes the dreariest darkness. The tree of life endures the harshest time, and the spirit of love is renewed with the birth of every child. We celebrate light and life and love. And now join in saying the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And please join in singing hymn 238, Within the Shining of a Star.
Within the shining of a star, we catch a glimpse of who we are. In every infant born we see the hope of our nativity. The miracle of each new birth can shake and save the stony earth. Triumphantly the newborn's cry strikes echoes from the waiting sky.
Hi, my name is Ann Gadzikowski, and I'm a member of UCE. When my daughter Alexa was a little girl, she signed up to be Mary in the UCE Christmas pageant. And that year, there were 6 or 7 other children who signed up to be Mary. So we had a whole crowd of Marys in the Christmas pageant that year. And that experience inspired me to write a children's story called Mary and Her Baby. And I'm going to read that to you now. Long ago in Galilee, a little girl lived on a farm with her mother and her father. Her name was Mary. Mary worked hard every day. She helped her family care for chickens, the sheep, and the cows. Mary, it's time to feed the chickens, Mary's mother called. Mary scattered grain on the flat, dry earth. The hen and her chicks began pecking at the food. Mary whispered to the little chicks, "Hello, little ones. How are you today?" She gently lifted one of the chicks and held it close. She could feel the little bird's heart beating in the palm of her hand. The hen clucked and scolded at Mary. "Yes, I know," said Mary to the hen. "He's your baby, not mine." Mary carefully placed the chick back on the ground. "Mary, it's time to carry water to your father," Mary's mother called. Mary carried a pail of water to the sheep pasture where her father stood. "Thank you, Mary," he said. Mary watched a sheep with 2 tiny lambs. They followed their mother on thin little legs. "The lambs are so beautiful, Father," Mary said. "May I hold one?" "Not yet, Mary," he said. "They need to stay close to their mother. Run along now." And Mary ran back to the farmyard as the sun began to set. "Mary, it's time to lead the cows into the barn," Mary's mother called. Mary led the cows into the barn, and the cow's little calf followed behind. "Don't worry," said Mary to the cow. I won't try to hold your baby, too. Inside the barn, Mary sat on a stool and watched the calf and her mother chew their supper. Mary sighed. The hen has her chicks, the sheep has her lambs, the cow has her calf. I wish I had a little baby of my own. Mary noticed an old rag hanging by the open door of the barn, and she held it in her hands. The cloth was stained with ashes from the hearth, but it was thick and soft. So Mary folded the cloth and tied knots in the corner and on one end, and the knots began to take the shape of a head and arms and legs, and Mary stuffed the middle of the rag so it puffed up like a little round belly. And Mary rocked her homemade doll in her arms. It smelled of ashes, but Mary didn't mind. When I have a baby, I will rock him in my arms just like this. The low sun cast shadows in the barn, and the cow and her calf settled into the hay, and Mary laid her doll in the manger and sat next to it, admiring her baby. She looked at the cow's wide, wet eyes and whispered, "Someday, I will have a real baby. He'll be so wonderful, people will come from miles away just to look at him." And the sun slipped down below the horizon, and a single patient star began to glow just a bit brighter in the evening sky. The end. Merry Christmas.
These are the joys and sorrows that have been submitted through our Google form found on the homepage of our website. You can always also send a message to me or to Reverend Susan if you have a joy or sorrow you want to be shared. From Melanie Kitchener, she writes, "My daughter and son-in-law were experiencing cabin fever, so they took a walk in their neighborhood yesterday. On their way home, police cars with sirens blaring drove by and a police helicopter hovered above. Jessica listened to the police scanner to learn that a shooter was nearby. He was captured 1 block away from their house. Really scary for them, and I have way more gray hair," writes Melanie. So sorry to hear that. Kristen Larson writes, "Craig is home and it's been a tense week, but mostly good. He fell yesterday, but thank goodness he did not hurt himself. I'm so grateful for our upstairs neighbor, Jeremy, who I call to help move Craig when I can't manage it myself. I'll be posting a message on the church Facebook page asking about physical therapists to work with Craig in our home. Craig's ready to return to rehab, but we are not yet comfortable with COVID numbers. Thanks for your messages of support." And Sean Talmadge wrote, "Good news that our cat Ringo is recovering and will be around a bit longer. We're so heartbroken and concerned last week when he couldn't walk, but now he is limping along pretty well, which is a huge relief for our family." We know these are not the only joys and sorrows that are on our hearts and our minds today. So let's take a moment of quiet now to read to ourselves the joys and sorrows that have been added to the chat. We hold these together in care and tenderness. And I invite you to say aloud the names of those who are on your heart, those who are sick, those who have died or have experienced a loss. And say these names aloud from wherever you are and let them gather on the winds to be held in the love and care of this community. We hold these as well as the joys and sorrows which are on our hearts but remain unspoken. Together we share our celebrations and we lessen the burden of our grief. I invite you to join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. This prayer, Christmas Beatitudes, is written by David Reese Williams. Blessed are they who have vision enough to behold a guiding star in the dark mystery which girdles the earth. Blessed are they who have imagination enough to detect the music of celestial voices in the midnight hours of life. Blessed are they who have faith enough to contemplate a world of peace and justice in the midst of present wrong and strife. Blessed are they who have greatness enough to become like little children. Blessed are they who have zest enough to take delight in simple things. Blessed are they who have wisdom enough to know that the kingdom of heaven is very close at hand, and that all may enter in who have eyes to see and ears to hear and hearts to understand.
Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing. In dark and rain, sorrow and pain, still will remain, singing. Calming my fears, quenching my tears, through all the years, singing.
UCE remains a vital part of the world and our community. And because we continue to need one another in the blessings of community, we take this time to invite you to give to our shared plate. Today's offering will be shared with the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, which is our UU social justice service organization providing disaster relief and promoting human rights and social justice around the world. You can text to give, send in a check, or give from our website. If you send in a check, please indicate in the memo line if your check is for the shared plate, pledge, capital campaign, or some other giving. Please give as generously as you are able, and may what you give bring you joy. You may have heard the story before, the story of the birth of Jesus as told in the book of Luke and the book of Matthew and the Christian scriptures. This year, our Christmas pageant will be a little different, and yet it will hopefully carry the spirit of the season to each of you, wherever you are. As in years past, we are going to relive it together. Some of you joyously agreed to take part in the story, and some of you may wish to be more spontaneous at home. Either way, we will see and experience this familiar tale in a new way. As we read the story, you will likely recognize the characters and the plot. As the story is being told, watch and listen for you carefully as you can for your cues. And don't worry about mistakes or delays. There are no mistakes, and delays are simply pauses in the action and dramatic effect. The story is a beautiful and meaningful one, and we are here to be moved by it once again. Let the story begin. Caesar, you ready? In those days, long, long ago, over 2,000 years ago, a decree went out from the Emperor Caesar Augustus saying,
all the Roman world must be registered in order to pay taxes to me.
all the people were required to go to the city or town where they had been born to register. For some people, that meant a long journey. Joseph, a carpenter, had to go all the way from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to the city of David that was called Bethlehem, the same village of Bethlehem that is still there today. Joseph went to be registered with Mary, the woman he was planning to marry, who was expecting a child. Joseph and Mary had to travel a long way, and they knew it would not be easy because Mary was expecting her child very soon. But there was nothing that could be done about it. They had to go. So they started on their journey, traveling by day and sometimes through the dark nights, which were lit only by bright stars. Please join in singing hymn 246, O Little Town of Bethlehem.
sleep and angels keep their watch of wandering love. All morning stars together proclaim the holy birth. Let praises ring from God, they bring goodwill to all on earth.
How silently the wonder is made known, when God imparts to human hearts the gift that is our own. No ear may hear that coming, but in this world we dim, when souls are truly humble, then the dear babe rests within.
While Mary and Joseph were in Bethlehem, the time came for Mary to have her baby, but there was no room in the inn. Joseph looked everywhere, but the only place he could find for Mary to give birth to the baby was a stable behind the inn, where there were friendly beasts. The animals, with all of their friendly sounds, welcomed Mary and Joseph into the stable, and the animals were even kind enough to give up their hay-filled manger so the baby could have a bed. Thus, Mary gave birth to her firstborn child in a simple stable surrounded by animals. She wrapped him up in bands of cloth and placed him in the manger. Now you'll go sing Go Tell It on the Mountain, hymn 239.
Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. While shepherds kept their watching o'er silent flocks by night, behold, throughout the heavens there shone a holy light. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. The shepherds feared and trembled when lo, above the earth rang out the angel chorus that hailed the baby's birth. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Down in a lowly manger the humble babe was born, and God sent us salvation, that that blessed Christmas morn. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born.
In that region, there were shepherds living in the fields, keeping watch over their flocks by night. Now, will everyone join in singing hymn 237, The First Noel? Then an angel of the Lord stood before them, and this angel was truly magnificent. And the glory of the Lord shone around the shepherds, and they were terrified. But the angel said to them,
"Don't be afraid, for I bring you good news of great joy for all the people. To you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, who is the Messiah, the Lord. This will be a sign to you. You will find a child wrapped in bands of cloth, lying in a manger."
and suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of angels, and the angels were saying,
"Glory to God in the heaven, in the highest heaven, and on earth, peace, goodwill among all people everywhere."
Let's sing hymn 244, It Came Upon a Midnight Clear. And the shepherds said to one another, "Let us go now to Bethlehem and see this thing that has taken place, which has been made known to us." So the shepherds went quickly to Bethlehem, and there they found Mary and Joseph and the child lying in the manger, just as the angel had said it would be. When the shepherds saw this, they told everyone what the angel had said to them about this newborn child. And everyone who heard their story was amazed. But Mary kept all these things and treasured them in her heart. And the shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all they had heard and seen, as it had been told them. Now let's join in singing 231, Angels We Have Heard on High.
Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains, and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strains. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Shepherds, why this jubilee? Why these songs of happy cheer? What great brightness did you see? What glad tidings did you hear? Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo. See him in a manger laid, whom the angels praise above. Mary, Joseph, lend your aid, while we raise our hearts in love. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo.
And after Jesus was born in Bethlehem, 3 wise persons who were kings from the east came to Jerusalem. And these wise persons were asked,
"Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star in the skies, and we have come to praise him and bring him gifts."
The wise persons learned from King Herod about a prophecy which had been spoken long ago, that the Messiah would be born in Bethlehem. So the wise persons set out for Bethlehem on their camel, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen when it first appeared in the east. Please join in singing our next hymn, 259, We Three Kings of Orient Are.
I put on my point so they can't see it.
We three kings of Orient are, bearing gifts we traverse afar, field and fountain, moor and mountain, following yonder star. Oh, star of wonder, star of light, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us through this perfect night.
And the wise persons followed the star until it stopped over the stable where the newborn child was lying in the manger. When the wise persons saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy and entered the stable. There they saw the child with its mother, and they knelt down to worship him, and they offered him their gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh, which they had brought with them. And so let's celebrate and join in singing hymn 245, Joy to the World.
Joy to the world, the word is come. Let earth with praises ring. Let every heart prepare a room, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. Joy to the earth, now gladness reigns. Let hearts their songs employ, while fields and floods, rocks, hills and plains, repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy. No more the sins and sorrows grow, nor thorns infest the ground. Let righteousness its glory show, as far as love is found, as far as love is found, as far as love is found.
Now that we have gathered our whole cast of characters, and they are characters, aren't they? Let us pause for a moment. Look at this scene. It is a special night with stars and angels and shepherds and wise persons and animals, and they are all witnesses to a special birth. No doubt the birth of Jesus over 2,000 years ago in the stable in Bethlehem looked a little different from this. But the love and the mystery and the wonder that we see here is no different from the wonder that was there at the time of Jesus's birth. We thought it would be fun to look back at some of the pageants of Christmas past, and so now enjoy a slideshow.
O come, Emmanuel, take 2.
As Janice, Amira, and Miles extinguish the chalice, may the joy of the season and the light of our chalice be with us as we go out into the world, and the light of faith sustain and warm us. May the joy and light of Christmas brighten our lives in this time of uncertainty and give us hope for the world. And these words by Rachel Naomi Remen in closing. Hidden in all stories is the one story. The more we listen, the clearer the story becomes. Our true identity, who we are, why we are here, what sustains us is in the story. Merry Christmas.
You know what I'm gonna do then? You do that, I'll just